Welcome back inside the Brogan Hillman Show. I am your host, Brogan Hillman, obviously. And before we get into all the news, everything that has gone down in the sports world over the past week, we have the Bible verse. Now, today's Bible verse is Jeremiah 29:11, and it's a very good one. For it goes, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future." Now, all this verse is saying is, the Lord knows what He has planned. He knows what's coming. He knows everything He has in store for you. Just live your life. Don't stress. Don't get worried. Don't be anxious. All these things. Just live your life. The Lord has a plan. He has a path for you to walk, and everything will fall into fruition. Just trust in the Lord and be a servant with all of your heart. Now, I love you all. Let's get straight in. Let's get straight into the news. So, first segment, we're not going to waste any time. We have Shant Talk. So for this week in the Shant's world, it's been exciting. Season tickets for basketball are now on sale. So if you want to go support Chanticleers basketball, make sure you go snag your season tickets. They are available now. As well as Caden Bodine, Chanticleers catcher, obviously, for that baseball team. Very talented. They've been super successful over the last couple of years. Gary Gilmore retiring, new head coach coming in. Shout out Gary Gilmore with just an awesome career there for Coastal Baseball. It was nothing short of phenomenal to watch. Brought us to so many places. That 2016 World Series, College World Series win, obviously. Just a huge momentum shift in the program. Really brought us to where we were now, open doors to be able to do certain things. And I truly believe winning that is part of the main reasons that our football team is now so successful. So shout out to Gary Gilmore, that whole baseball organization, everything they were able to do, all the success they were able to find. But with that being said, Caden Bodine is now listed as a top 10 prospect for the 2025 MLB draft. He's been balling. He's been performing very, very well. And he is mocked top 10. I've seen him go high as number 5 in some of these MLB mock drafts. Obviously, the actual draft taking place over All-Star Weekend for baseball, so that would be around July of 2025 coming up. He is mocked as a top 10 pick, so shout out to Caden Bodine. That is a big feat, and he managed to get that successfully. He's a very, very good catcher, very good back there behind the batter. And he is a guy that any team would be lucky to have. Caden Bodine's just been an absolute baller, an absolute stud for years for the Chanticleers baseball organization, and that is a very, very well-deserved honor. Caden Bodine, shout out, getting a top 10 MLB prospect grade. That's just insane. Keep doing great things. Keep on out. This season is going to be exciting to watch, and top 10, that's a big deal. Sort of segueing, still in Shant Talk, talking about here this time the Chanticleers football. Obviously, Coastal football has been just super successful, like we mentioned, over the last couple of years. One of the most winningest programs in the nation. So just a huge feat, obviously dominating there in the Sun Belt. The 2020 Consensus Championship, never really played that game. But last week, we got to talk about it. JMU, Thursday night, played at JMU, just got obliterated. 39-7. JMU came out to play. They've been a top team in G5 since they moved up. They moved up last year. Obviously, we know the whole bowl game, let them be eligible, make them eligible, let them play. They did play. They played Air Force in their bowl game last year, and they are showing no signs of slowing down, even after losing head coach last year, even after losing Jordan McLeod to Texas State, even after all these things. JMU has just been rolling, doing a very, very good job of cementing themselves as a powerful G5 program, and they showed it the other night. They came out, they dominated Coastal. I mean, they held Ethan Vasco to 84 pass yards, his lowest mark on the season, a touchdown and 2 interceptions. Turnovers were a big thing in that game. They had a pick 6. They had another big interception return. They were just not making it easy for Ethan Vasco, doing anything they can to disrupt his game, and it showed. Chanticleers were just getting held to nothing. Run game was stalling out. It was stagnant. The pass game, it could not move upfield. The vertical passing was non-existent. It was just a hard night for the Chants. Overall, could not get anything going, really. And they're looking for a big bounce-back game at home this week against Louisiana Lafayette. And it's, again, no easy feat. This is another team that is very, very solid inside the Sun Belt. And we look at it. Their win column this season, obviously we mentioned it, 5-1. 5 wins, one of those being against Wake Forest, a big ACC opponent who was stuck in there with Clemson for a little bit last week. So they're just showing their capability to have a very balanced spread offense. They're not too strong in one particular area. They love to pass the ball. They love to run the ball. They spread it out. They keep you on your toes, everything like this. Head coach Michael DeSormo has this team as a 17-15 record, his third full season as a head coach. They're looking good this season. This is their best season under Michael DeSarno. 5-1, like we mentioned. And those wins aren't against no slackers. Wake Forest, Southern Miss, App State last week, a big 34-24 win, an opponent that Coastal plays their rivals at home in a couple weeks. So this is a big game right here. You're 4-2 Sun Belt Coastal, 5-1 Sun Belt Louisiana Lafayette. There's implications down the line in this game. And for Coastal, this is a must-win matchup. You've already dropped 2 games this season, one of which being in conference play to JMU last week, getting obliterated at that. I mean, this is a game that you need to come out and win if you want contention in the conference. You can't drop another conference game after that. It's just sort of, it's an eye-opener for the Chanticleers. JMU losing by 32 points, it sort of makes it think, hey, we need to pick something up. If we're going to make a serious push in the Sun Belt, let everyone know we're being serious about making a title run, maybe grabbing an automatic G5 spot, which I believe is already out the window for the Chanticleers, you need to come out here and you need to show everyone, especially in your home stadium, hey, we're still in this. This is not our season. This is not our team. We don't buffer when we lose. We come out and we let it shape who we are. We come out, we fit up with great matchups, and we give it to this Louisiana Lafayette team. And knowing the way that this team is coached with Tim Beck, with all these studs, Ethan Basco, Jamison Tucker, Braden Bennett, all of these guys, they're going to come out here, they're going to look adversity in the face, and they're going to say, all right, it's our time to show up and play. I know Tim Beck is going to have these guys ready. I know he's going to have them rolling. That's the faith I have in my head coach. I know he's going to put those guys on the field and say, hey, we're ready for a bounce back day. We're ready to come out and play, and we're going to show everyone here in Teal Nation, everyone in Conway, why I got brought in, why I'm here, why I'm their guy. And I have full faith in Tim Beck and this team to come out here and put on a statement game against Louisiana Lafayette. And I expect to see it. I expect these Chanticleers to come out and play a great football game. And I know those guys are nothing less than ready. They're prepared. They want to come out here and play a huge game against a big conference opponent. So Louisiana Lafayette at home this week, Saturday at noon. Again, a big game for Coastal this season. Must-win conference game in my eyes, and you need to come out here, fit up, match up, and play this game well. I have faith in the guys. I have faith in Coach Tim Beck to go out and get a big one, and I believe they're going to come out and play a great game. So look out for that game. Coastal Carolina, Louisiana Lafayette, noon, Saturday at Brick Stadium. Going to be a big game, and that's all I have for Chant Talk this week. So, again, take a little debrief. We talked a little bit. Talked a lot of it, actually, there for Coastal football and that huge matchup against Louisiana Lafayette this week. So make sure you tune in. Make sure that's a game that you have in the back of your mind. You're paying attention, you're score checking, you're doing whatever with that game. You don't want to miss it. That's a huge game, huge implications there for Coastal. And you got to go out. You got to put on a show at home, and you got to go get that W. I believe the guys, Tim Beck, once again, are going to go out, put on a show, and just be phenomenal and show why they're brought in, why they're all there, and why we love football. So go Chants. Chants up, baby. Big game this Saturday. We're going to come out and we're going to give it to Louisiana Lafayette. Let's go. Speaking of more football, speaking of great football, why we love football, the NFL, the big league, the big guys, all these top dollar guys, all these top end athletes, premier cream of the crop, and they show us just why. The NFL last week was entertaining. It was amazing. I loved it. We had a couple great games. Everything was falling in line. I mean, we had guys like Drake May making their debut. We interviewed J.J. Jones, obviously, this summer, and he was talking about his guy and Drake May, how he's like his best friend. Just roll the clip.
And then playing with Drake. I mean, I thought he was the best quarterback in the country last year and the year before that. But, he's also one of my best friends now. And for learning from him, he was more of a player of the game. He understood how to play the game. He was an absolute baller on the field.
Yeah. I mean, when JJ talks highly about his guy like that, and when you love your quarterback like that, you have that relationship, you know this guy's legit. And we saw it. He came out here, he put on a show. His debut, his rookie debut, it was week 6. He did what? 283 yards, 3 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. To come out and even as a rookie quarterback in your debut, to come out and have a positive touchdown to interception ratio is a good feat. Not only that, he amassed 283 yards, 3 touchdowns to 2 interceptions he had a killer debut. Doesn't matter if they lost that game or not to a talented Houston Texans team, a defense that's ranked about 4th when it comes to grades in the NFL. They came out and they played a game. I mean, they showed why these Patriots are very excited to have their guy in Drake May. Not to mention, you also have Jacoby Brissett, who struggled, obviously, mentoring your guy in Drake May. And then a step behind in the room as well, you have a Joe Milton who started at Tennessee last year, one of the biggest arms in the NFL, biggest arm in that draft class, chucking it down the field at 70 yards like at ease, like it was nothing. Just absolutely insane to watch. That's a quarterback room that has a ton of potential, and it's flying under the radar a little bit. Drake May, when he's your true starter, your true QB1, I think we're starting to see that ship sort of sail starting now, especially after that performance last week. You're excited. As a Patriots fan, you're very ecstatic. You want to see what's in store for your team, what's in store for your guy in particular. And I have a feeling this Christmas we're going to see a lot of Drake May jerseys sort of fly off the shelf for those 5 Patriots fans that are out there somewhere in the world. Obviously, fins up, can't stand the Pats, but this hurts my soul to really say, to give Drake May his flowers. It does. But I love football at the same time, so it doesn't hurt my soul. And it's JJ's guy, honestly. So I'm going to roll with him. I have nothing but love for Drake May and those Patriots. I hope they find nothing but success, except when they run into the Dolphins on Sundays. But it's scary. It looks very, very good. The product that Drake May put on the field is a product that I wholeheartedly believe Jerod Mayo, Robert Kraft, and all that whole organization and the guys are ready to roll with. And Drake May is their guy, undoubtedly. It's 1 week. It's 1 week. I've seen Pats fans on TikTok going crazy saying put him in the Hall of Fame, everything like this. They're ready. They are very excited about Drake May. It's 1 week, but he came out and he put on a show. He proved why he was taken at that number 3 spot. And speaking of top 3, all 3 of those quarterbacks were balling last week. Caleb Williams in London. I don't know if going to London has a certain effect on this man or something. He goes out, not too crazy in the yards column, but the passing touchdowns, 5 touchdowns to 0 interceptions. Are you serious, Caleb Williams? We know he's been one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the league to start off this season. He was just able to get it done against the Jaguars defense, dicing them up all day. 5 pass touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He was clean to the ground, too. This Bears team was just rolling, looked like they could not be stopped, and there was just no answer from the Jaguars. The Bears were moving the ball at ease. They were scoring, going up and down the field. It was fun to watch. And as for Bears fans that have been tormented by bad quarterback play for centuries, I mean, they've been a team for over a century. So centuries, you can say centuries. They're sitting here. They're watching Caleb Williams, and they have a grin on their face. They're excited. They're ready to see what he can come out and do for this organization in the long haul, where they can take him, the new heights they can go. Get it, talking about like Arlington Heights and everything like this. But Caleb Williams, have yourself a day. You just proved why everyone dubbed you a generational quarterback, a generational talent coming out of college. You put on an absolute clinic against the Jaguars in pretty much their home stadium in London. The Jaguars play the most out of anyone in London. They're staying this week for another matchup in London. So you just go out there pretty much in an away game and just give it to the Jaguars. You didn't even let them stay in that game. You didn't let it be close. Caleb Williams did everything he needed to. Found Cole Kmet twice. Found Keenan Allen twice. It was just insane. You were going out there. You were spreading the field. You were making plays with your eyes, with your legs, with your arm. You were doing what you needed to do to get it done. You looked like that true QB1 of that draft class, coming out and getting it done. You played an absolute stellar game. And now there's a ton of praise all over the NFL. People are really starting to realize why you were so sought after, why you were so talked about, why all of these things fell into the way it did during the recruiting process, during the draft, during the combine, during pro day. All of these things, you're showing why you were that guy. It's fun to watch, honestly. Caleb Williams, you went out and you really made a statement for yourself. You had a statement game. You said, hey, a lot of you guys said this wouldn't translate to the NFL. I just went out and did this to an NFL defense. I just went out and put 5 touchdowns on an NFL defense. I just went out and ransacked a Jaguars defense that was not ready to see me. They were not ready to play me, and they didn't play me. I was running around like it was recess out there playing on this Jaguars defense, and I played a heck of a game. And now I have my Bears sitting at 4-2. But guess what? In the NFC North, 4-2 has you in last place. That's a whole nother thing. The NFC North is straight balling with the Vikings bye week 5-0. Lions 4-1, big win. Packers 4-2 coming off a loss. It's just, what? You're 4-2 sitting in the bottom of the division. How? It's just insane. But again, Caleb Williams came out and had himself a great day. 5 passing touchdowns, no interceptions, had some yards, had some movement with his legs. Beautiful. And then the second quarterback taken in that draft class, Jaden Daniels, played it close against Lamar Jackson, a guy that he plays much alike, very similar player type attributes there. He keeps it close. It's a 7-point game. They lose 30-23 in M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore. Not a huge rivalry game necessarily with rankings and divisions and all this, but proximity, geography, it is a big rivalry game. They're like less than what they say, 100 miles, 30 miles away from each other. I know that's a big difference, but one of the two, you come out and you almost knock off a 2-time MVP in Lamar Jackson, your rookie game, your 6th game of your career. All these guys are balling right now. All these quarterbacks. Even Bo Nix is out there balling right now. He held that Chargers game close with Jim Harbaugh, who should be on IR or something, I guess. But Bo Nix came out and he played the game. He's been making some statements as well. We know he can get it done with his legs. His arm is looking pretty decent out there as well. These quarterbacks are starting to translate. And I just really like what I'm seeing out of these guys. I mean, they look very, very good. And it's just exciting. I believe there's so much talent nowadays in the NFL, in college football as well, in high school. These guys are just, the next generation just keeps stepping up, gets a little stronger, a little bigger, a little more explosive. And all of a sudden, you start to see crazy talent, even more crazy talent, even more crazy talent. So it's like, you just get loaded at every single position. Everyone's starting to become good. We've seen a new age where there's 17-year-olds all over the place in college football. UCF started a 17-year-old quarterback this weekend. Ryan Williams has been tearing it up. I don't even want to get into that because you guys have probably heard too much about Ryan Williams and how he is 17. Just in case you guys didn't know, Ryan Williams is 17. You probably didn't know that, but you have Jeremiah Smith, a freshman receiver out there for Ohio State, tearing it up, scoring a touchdown every single game consistently this season. You just have so many guys with so much talent at such a young age stacking all across the country. And it's just going to keep growing and keep getting more populated and more dense and more talent. It's insane. Truly. This next generation, these next couple generations of football, all of this are going to be so fun to cover, so fun to watch, and so chaotic, so hectic, so filled with talent. I believe truly much more than there has been in previous years. I'm just excited to watch it all play out as a fan. I'm excited to see all this go down, and I'm excited to see what this next couple generations of football is going to look like. But with that being said, this last week of football for me has just proved that these quarterbacks are coming in, they're translating, they're playing very, very well, and they're adapting fast. They're learning. They might not be step-up NFL, Super Bowl, caliber ready or anything yet, but they are coming out and they're showing, hey, we can win football games, we can get it done, we can translate, we know what we are, we know who we are, we know how to use our talents, our strengths, and we love to win football games. We're true fire competitors. We're here to stay, and we are the future of these franchises. We are the faces of the we are the faces of the franchise for all of these teams, for all of these guys, and we're here to stay for the long haul. So all of these guys, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Bo Nix, I'll give all of you guys your flowers. You came out, you balled, you put on a performance, and you're going to be very, very fun to watch for the next couple of generations. But now with that being said, let's get into these matchups. Next week, I have 7 picked out for you to watch, keep your eye on, in matchups that I believe are going to be truly just fun to watch, interesting, nice storylines, whatever. And starting off with the Thursday night game, Denver, New Orleans. This is a game I think is very interesting for a couple reasons. I believe Bo Nix has a chance to come out and make a statement game for himself. He's on primetime. Broncos haven't had a primetime game this season. Everyone's going to get to watch. He has a big chance to showcase his ability, showcase who he is, showcase his talents to the national media, to everybody, against New Orleans, a team that started off hot. They've had their struggles. They dropped to 2-4 after starting off 2-0. Just disappointing there for Dennis Allen and his Saints. I know they're going to want to find that spark again and just go out and win some more football games. They haven't been able to close out games, have not been able to win since week 2, and it's been hard to watch. They started out super strong, came out of the gate firing. This is two teams that have stuff to lose. They have stuff to prove as well, and they're going to do just that in a primetime matchup. Bo Nix statement game. Derek Carr might be back. It might be Spencer Rattler. We're unsure yet. If it is a Spencer Rattler Bo Nix game, then that's a statement game for both of them. They're both on primetime. They're both rookies. They're both coming to make a name for himself. But for this reason, Bo Nix primetime game. Derek Carr and the Saints need to get back in the win column. There's something to prove on both sides, and this is a game to watch out for in Week 7. Now, my second game. This is going to be obvious as to why this is a huge game. The Lions, the Vikings in that 1 o'clock window. Obviously, these Vikings are 5-0, one of two teams up there in the column with the Chiefs that are undefeated, have not lost a game this season. And the Lions 4-1 coming off a decimation of the Cowboys. They went out there and beat them 47-9 in their home stadium. You go to Arlington, AT&T Stadium. You let everybody know. Jerry Jones, Mike McCarthy, everybody, that you are legit. 47-9. You lose Aiden Hutchinson to a gruesome leg injury in the process, but you are legit. You prove it to everybody. This offense is serious. This defense is stellar. You get stop after stop. Kirby Joseph, a guy that I love, had a great game. I don't know why he receives so much hate. I think he continues to be one of the better safeties in the league week after week, producing numbers. And your whole team was just showing up, producing numbers. And they've been doing it this season a lot. They're 4-1. Dropped one game. It probably shouldn't even have dropped. They should be 5-0 right now as well, topped upon the rankings with the Vikings and the Chiefs. This is a huge game. You're 5-0 Vikings, 4-1 Lions. Whoever wins this game sitting atop the NFC North, one of the toughest divisions in football. I know it's only week 7, but these games have implications. Going down the line for the playoffs, this game is going to have an implication. You're going to look at it, you're going to say, hey, who won this matchup early on in the season? Let's do some tiebreakers. If they finish tied up, whoever wins this game by a certain amount of points, the margin spread of this game, it has huge implications down the line for the NFC North. And this is one that both of these teams are going to come out and want to win. Both of these teams are going to come out and be competitive. There's an incentive on both sides for these teams. Lions, the incentive, go play for your guy Hutch. Go get it back. He just broke his leg, gruesome leg injury. Go play for him. Go put your heart on the line and go secure a big NFC North win in the process. For your Vikings, continue your streak. Continue your Sam Darnold statement season. Let them know where you are, who you are, what team you are, and continue to just ball out and ride all this momentum, ride the undefeated season for as long as you can. Obviously, we know the only ever undefeated team in the league, 72 Dolphins. Ever since then, people have been chasing this feat, trying to get right back at it. Been close a couple times with the Patriots back a couple years ago, 16-0, lost in the Super Bowl to Eli Manning. Then you had the Panthers, who went 15-1 in 2015. And now, your 2024 Vikings, your 2024 Chiefs. Who knows? But this is a huge game. Lions, Vikings, huge NFC North matchup with the implications down the line. Both of which would like to get this one in the win column for sure. Third game, Seahawks, Falcons. Battle of the Birds with big NFC implications. Your Seahawks started off super hot out of the gate. 3-0 streaking. They weren't the prettiest wins, dropping 3 in a row. The most recent one being Thursday Night Football against the 49ers. So this is a team that's looking to get back in the win column. And then you're playing the Falcons, a team that has dropped a couple games they shouldn't have lost. Maybe the Chiefs on that Monday Night Football game. And they're looking pretty good in the NFC South in a tough division that has the Buccaneers and it has the Saints in it. This is a must-win game for both of these teams, for momentum-wise, for rankings-wise. I truly believe it's early in the year, but it's a tight race between AFC teams, between NFC teams, and this playoff is going to be scattered this season. There's no teams really that stand out from everyone else besides maybe the Vikings, maybe the Chiefs. Teams who honestly at this point in the season aren't even that much ahead of other teams. You got to keep playing. You got to play for all these implications. You got to play for playoffs. You got to play for everything. This Battle of the Birds is going to be a big NFC matchup heading down the line. And two old quarterbacks, Geno Smith, Kirk Cousins battling it out. You got to get this win. And this is a 1 o'clock game. It had to be a 1 o'clock game or else Geno Smith, Kirk Cousins would both be asleep by 9 o'clock at halftime. But this is a game, again, you just want to go out. Both sides are trying to make a statement. Both sides want to win. Both sides want to boost up their stock in the NFC. And this is the time to do it against a big NFC opponent. Two big NFC opponents that are both in the playoff picture, both in the playoff race, right in the front seat right now for the NFC. So it's a big game with implications, and you got to check that going down the line. Fourth game, Packers, Texans. Texans just went off and, obviously dropped off the Patriots in their home stadium. Drake May, his debut. We already talked so much about that. Don't need to get into that anymore. And then the Packers obviously coming off a W themselves. Jordan Love had a great game. CJ Stroud has just been impressing once again this season. The sophomore wall does not apply to him. Whole team was clicking for the Texans, and two very young rising teams sitting high respectively in their own conference standings. The Texans right now 5-1. Packers right now 4-2. Winning teams, very solid teams, very good teams. Obviously mentioned they're both very, very young, both very, very talented, both younger head coaches at the helm. And this is just a statement game for me. You have a team 4-1 in the AFC, 5-1 in the AFC, 4-2 in the NFC. Respected opponents, respected teams, and you're going head to head. If you walk away with a big win, if say the Texans come out and they win 31-10 against the Packers, or vice versa, Packers come out and they win 31-10 against the Texans, we're going to be saying, hold on, Texans are legit. They just knocked off an NFC contender in the Packers by 21 points in the Packers stadium. Or the flip side of that, the Packers just knocked off C.J. Stroud, Will Anderson, Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs, all of these guys by a lot in their home stadium, 31-10. This is a big game for bragging rights, implications, just however you want to see it going down the line. A non-conference matchup, but it's just a matchup of grit, a matchup of two big powerhouse teams on the rise, going banging into each other, seeing who can come out victorious. A lot of bragging rights to this game, a lot of just implications. I know implications has been a word used probably a million times in this segment, and I am sorry, truly, but that's the only way to put it. There is implications. Probably get drilled into your head by now, but there is. Packers, Texans, who wants to come out and win this? Who wants to make a statement, and who is going to do so? I got my money on the Texans, honestly. I think the Texans are going to come out here and they're going to play this game so close. It's going to be such a close game to the Packers. Young Jordan Love, young C.J. Stroud, two ballers at quarterback, two absolute studs. Whoever wins this, bragging rights until they meet again. And I just believe it's going to be a good game down the line. Who wants to make a statement? Who's going to put their team on the map? That's a great game right there. And another great game, a battle of Ohio, Cincinnati, Cleveland, two AFC North teams that need a division win. Browns have been struggling out of the gate. The Bengals have been struggling out of the gate. They got a much-needed win against the Giants on Sunday Night Football to jump up to 2-4. Just two teams that need help. They need a jump start. They need something to get them going. And this game could be a jump start for either side. Browns win over a Bengals team that's riding a little bit of momentum. Or the Bengals win on a Browns team. They get to stuff their division opponent down in the rankings a little bit. There's just morale on both sides to be untapped. There's potential for a run to be untapped from a big win. There's just potential for bragging rights, for rankings in the AFC North. There's potential for all sides of the ball for anyone in this matchup. And whoever wants to come out and take it, whoever wants to come out and play a great game and just put their team on the map in the rankings, jump up to 3-4 if you're a Bengal, and then you can just make a run from there. or 3-4 if you're a Brown, and you can make a run from there. It's all about jumpstart and momentum in this matchup for me. Two teams that are down a little bit in spirit, down a little bit in morale, and they can need a pick-me-up, and this pick-me-up could be a huge game. So that is the Bengals-Browns Battle of Ohio. Now, the sixth matchup I have, we talked about powerhouses with the Texans-Packers, a young powerhouse, rising powerhouse. This is the powerhouse matchup. Two very established powerhouses in the Chiefs and 49ers Super Bowl 58 rematch. There's nothing else to it than that. Two great football teams, two amazing young squads, amazing coaches, amazing schemes, amazing everything all around, and amazing entertainment. This game in the 425 window is going to feed families. The Chiefs looking to defend their crown against the Niners on a smaller stage. It's not the Super Bowl. It's a Week 7 regular season. And then the 49ers looking to get redemption, get it back in blood against the Chiefs for rightfully taking what was theirs last season in the Super Bowl 58 trophy. 49ers are going to come out hot. They're going to be angry. They're going to be hot. They're going to be ready to get this game back. Chiefs are going to come out, and they're going to be a well-prepared, well-oiled machine with Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, all these guys at the helm. And they're going to come out. It's going to be a game of emotion, a game physical, scheming, fitting, classic, hard-nosed, fun, amazing football. We are going to get an instant classic. We're going to get back and forth game. We're going to get so many moments, so many plays, amazing plays. We're going to see some unique stuff in this matchup. We're going to see everything, all spectrums of football. This is where just amazing product comes. It's games like this. It's big teams. They've been performing so well already to start off this year. Chiefs coming off a bye, 5-0. Niners looking very, very good, respectful in the NFC West, sitting atop those rankings. It's going to be a very fun matchup to watch. They haven't had this season they've sort of wanted to start off. They're about 3-3, coming off a Thursday Night Football win. But this is one that both sides are going to want to take. You're going to have so many rights, so many bragging rights, so much everything coming out of this. And both teams are going to be back and forth. Make sure you tune in to 49ers Chiefs, the best game of Week 7 by far. Tune in, don't miss it. That is the sixth game I have listed down, and it's going to be the best one by a long shot. Now, this seventh game is also going to be a very, very good game. Probably going to be my second favorite game in this, and that's Monday Night Football. We have a doubleheader, but this is the first game, the 7:30 game of that doubleheader. It is the Ravens, and it is the Buccaneers. The Ravens, very respected AFC matchup opponent. 5-1, I believe, sitting at the top of the AFC North, sitting at near the top of the AFC. If it wasn't for the Chiefs, it wasn't for the Texans. And then you have the Buccaneers, a team. Baker Mayfield re-signed 3 years, $100 million this offseason, and he has been rolled through the Falcons, Thursday Night Football, rolled through the Saints, who have been coming out and being dominant the first 2 weeks of the season. The Buccaneers are serious. They're legit in the NFC South. The NFC South. I blanked for that in a second, but I got it. Don't worry. I got it. In the NFC South. Baker Mayfield and these guys, they've been coming out playing great football. I mean, Todd Boyles has had them coached up super, super well. They're just a super well football team facing against another super good football team. I don't know why I said super well. A super good football team in the Baltimore Ravens. It's another situation like the Packers-Texans. It's a non-conference matchup between two very good conference teams looking to make a statement against each other's. The Ravens come out. They get a big win against the Buccaneers, against this Baker Mayfield squad. You say, hey, this is a good resume booster for my playoffs, for everything, just for an overall look of our organization. Vice versa. Same thing for the Buccaneers. Hey, we knocked off Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. This is a very good look for our organization, a very good look for everything. We are legit as well. This is just one you can take. You can have momentum, bragging rights, morale, everything come out of this game. I feel like both quarterbacks are going to come out and they're going to put on a show. And this is going to be a Monday night primetime great game. Do not want to miss that in the doubleheader. So I believe that you need to look out for the Ravens Buccaneers as well. Going to be a very great game, very interesting with quarterback play, everything, a lot of storylines. Mike Evans, great wide receiver 1, Zay Flowers, who's been very wishy-washy so far in his NFL stint. I believe he'll come out and have a great game as well. He's coming off a huge performance, like 150 yards. Just insane stuff there for the Ravens last week. And Zay Flowers in that big game over the Commanders, just squeaking by Jaden Daniels. So this is going to be a huge game for both of these guys. Non-conference, they're both going to want to take this one out. They're both going to want to come out here, clash heads, and get the win. So those are 7 games that you need to see this NFL season, this NFL week, my apologies. NFL Week 7, Week 6 put on a show. Week 6 was amazing. Week 7 is going to be, in my books, even better, just as good, even better. So much great quarterback play, so many great matchups. Watch out for Week 7 of the NFL season and make sure you tune into all 7 of those games. They're going to be very, very interesting, very packed, a lot of storylines, a lot of competition, a lot of close games, and a lot of great football, which is why we're here. So do not miss NFL Week 7. That is the NFL recap and preview segment. Now moving on to the weekly mailbag, and it's about to get interesting, ladies and gentlemen, because you guys submitted all of these hot takes. Let's just say these hot takes do not disappoint. One bit, they do not disappoint. We're going to get right into it. We're going to start off the mailbag with Michael. Michael, you submitted 2. We're going to start off with your first one, and that is the Commanders come out victorious in the NFC East. And this isn't even really, so with the mailbag, it's not really all hot takes. It's just your takes in general. I'll clarify if they're hot takes or they're just takes. This one for me is just a take because I agree heavily. I like this one a lot. There's no really other, the Cowboys are your other big competition centerpiece in that division. The Eagles have been a little sketchy to start off the year. And they're dropping games. They're playing close to the Browns, who have been a little shaken up. Not the best competitor. I don't like the Eagles winning the division this year. Giants are not going to win the division this year. They're down in their slums. They're down on their luck. The Cowboys just got dismantled against the Lions at home. I feel the Commanders would play a lot closer to the Lions. I think the Commanders just match up to anyone in the league at this point. They can scheme for anyone. They're well coached by Dan Quinn. Jaden Daniels is developing and just translating a lot faster, a lot better than people expected. The Heisman winner's come now. He's been proving himself, been putting on a show and making a statement why he was the 2nd overall pick, why he is a stud, why he is. And I believe the Commanders will come out victorious in the NFC East as well. I agree with this take right here. I think Jaden Daniels is one of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL by far. I think the Commanders are a very bright future team. They're going to come out. They're going to put on a show year after year. They're going to be right in contention to win some Super Bowls. Believe it or not. Just for me, that starts off with a new stadium, but that's a whole different argument. The Commanders are going to come out. They're just going to keep playing these close games. They're going to keep giving these teams scares. And when they build up more team chemistry, they build up more time together as a unit. They're going to be scary to face heading down the stretch in December, in January. And hopefully for the Commanders organization in February, playing those February games in the Super Bowl. But I do agree here. I do think the Commanders will come out victorious in the NFC East. And your second hot take. This one's not, again, this one for me is also just a take. I really like these takes that you brought in today. BYU is a serious contender in the Big 12, and they look legit. I agree heavily. I think this Big 12 is very interesting this season. It's very good. There's talent spread around in the Big 12. Teams, BYU, just been putting on shows week after week. They're ranked all the way up, I think, in the AP poll 12, 11. Iowa State, who's also in that Big 12, ranked 9th, undefeated as well, 6-0. Both of these teams 6-0, top 12 rankings, right there in college football playoff contention. That's my Big 12 championship, Iowa State, BYU as of right now. There's other teams in the Big 12 that are also not bad. They need some respect on their name, such as maybe at Texas Tech, Kansas State. They've dropped a couple games, but they're still a respectable organization. Avery Johnson and all those guys. Deion Sanders and his folk there in Colorado. They've been playing way better than expected this season. I think they're coming out. They just look like a better unit, more put together than they were last year. And they look like a respectable opponent. I don't believe they're contenders in the Big 12, but they look like a respectable opponent. Week after week, Colorado, a lot of respect. But BYU, they've just been putting on a clinic. We mentioned Kansas State. BYU rolled through Kansas State. Another team in that Big 12, Arizona. BYU rolled through Arizona this past week. They've just been playing teams like it's no one's business. They've been coming out like a team that has nothing to lose, shot out of a cannon, playing great football, and it's really come out of nowhere. BYU's just really turned this ship around. They've gotten stuff done, and now they're sitting in a prime spot to take the conference, sitting in a prime spot to snag a college football playoff bid. I mean, a good playoff bid at that. We know the top four conference championship winners get a top 4 bid. It's very plausible. We look down the line in December, we see BYU sitting at a number 4 slot in the playoff, not playing in the first round, not playing in that quarterfinal matchup, not even quarterfinal matchup, not playing in that first round matchup, their first matchup being in the quarterfinal. And for Cougars fans, that's huge. You didn't expect that going. I mean, that was what you hoped, but in reality, you didn't expect that going into the season. You didn't expect to be sitting at 4 in a playoff spot at the end of the year. That would be huge for this organization, huge for recruitment, huge for everything. And I believe you're right. I believe they are a serious contender in the Big 12, and I believe they're a serious contender for the national championship. They've been playing good football with no one to stop them and really prove, hey, let's bring them down to earth a little bit. They've been living on the moon all season. I have no problem with seeing this team staying on the moon, establishing a colony throughout the season, hoisting a trophy at the end of the year. I mean, I'm on the BYU bandwagon right now, if you couldn't tell. I believe they are a serious contender in the Big 12, and I believe they are very, very legit. So I like this take, and I believe BYU is in a prime spot to do something magical at the end of this season. So the Cougars is going to be an interesting team to watch down the line, but I believe you are right. And yes, I do agree they are a serious contender in the Big 12, and they are very, very legit. This next one, Cade Klubnik, a Heisman finalist. This is coming in from Tyson. Tyson, obviously known, big Clemson fan, big Clemson fan. Still a big believer in Deshaun Watson and all those boys down in Cleveland. But this is a different argument. Cade Klubnik winning the Heisman, not winning the Heisman, but becoming a Heisman finalist, being in New York at the end of the season, looking with aspirations to hoist that Heisman trophy. And for me, this is funny because the next statement is also a Heisman statement. But this is the first hot take for me, because I just don't, his resume is not fulfilled enough for him to be standing in New York at the end of the season. Not when you have guys like Cam Ward putting up video game numbers in Miami with Xavier Estrepo, Damian Martinez, and that whole unit. And then you look around to Boise State in the Mountain West. Ashton Jeanty's putting up the most unseen numbers since Melvin Gordon in 2013. And then you look around, you see Travis Hunter putting up great numbers on both sides of the ball, 2 interceptions, a couple receiving touchdowns to pair, and like 500-ish receiving yards to pair, just playing 96% of snaps all season. And then you look at Cade Klubnik in the ACC with Clemson, and the only thing you really see is, yeah, we battered App State, we battered NC State, we battered some other teams, Wake Forest, just teams that they're going into those games expected to batter. He's had a great season. I mean, passing touchdowns. He looks a lot more developed than he has in prior seasons. His 3rd season as a starter. And this is the season for me. I can really look at him and say, yes, this guy is good. This guy is talented. This guy does play football at a high rate. I think he's much more improved than he has been in previous years. I think he's the most pro-ready he's been in his career, which makes sense because he's later on in his career. He's also the most matured. You can tell by his pocket awareness, his pocket presence. He knows where he is at all times. He's been keeping the football a lot more secure this season, not a lot less careless turnovers. He looks like a more established quarterback, a more developed quarterback, and the best version of himself. But I'm still going to say I don't see a timeline. I don't see an alternate reality where Cade Klubnik at the end of the season is in New York. He's hoisting a trophy. He's even in contention to win that trophy. I believe it'll be a 2-man race between Ashton Jeanty and Travis Hunter, which segments into the next take from also Michael. I overlooked. You didn't just have 2. You had 3 takes in here today, and this is also your take. The Heisman is a 2-man race between Ashton Jeanty and Travis Hunter. I agree 100%. I believe this is how it should be. You said no quarterback deserves to win this year. Or not no quarterback deserves to win, but no quarterback should win. I'll disagree with that part of the statement, but the overall statement, I agree. I disagree with the no quarterback should win. I feel the 3 are Ashton Jeanty, Travis Hunter, Cam Ward. I believe that is your New York trio. That's who you should be sending at the end of the season. they've just done too good of a job cementing their name at the start of the season. Unless one of them falls off a cliff and just does not perform at all, heading towards the end of the season, this last 6 stretch of games, that there's no argument to go against them. Ashton Jeanty, he hasn't even played a full 6 games. He's played 5 full games, 20 quarters, and he's still putting up the most unseen numbers since 2013 Melvin Gordon, who was snubbed of a Heisman because of Marcus Mariota, or some other big names barring that. I just believe those 3 have too much of a resume to be taken off that ballot. If you're going to take one off the ballot, it would be for a guy like Jalen Milroe, who just hasn't, in my eyes, had a season to where he should be taking the honor away from one of those guys. Losing to Vanderbilt sort of knocked off some credibility for me. Playing too close against South Carolina knocked off some credibility for me. For Cam Ward, being in position against an unranked Virginia Tech and Kyron Drones sort of knocked off a little bit of value for me. Having to come back from 25, granted you did it against Cal, but even getting in that position to begin with sort of knocks off some credibility for me. I believe these 2 guys that have just cemented themselves week after week and been the most efficient are Ashton Jeanty and Travis Hunter. Those 2 guys should be in New York stamped. Their flights should be booked right now. Those 2 guys should be in New York no matter what at the end of the season, barring an injury, barring falling off a cliff again. Just, you never want to wish that. You never want to think that heading into a season, to a couple games, to anything. I believe those 2 guys have banked their spots in New York. I believe they're going to New York at this end of the season, and I believe it's one of those 2 hoisting the trophy. My opinion, I could talk all day about Ashton Jeanty, and I will, frankly, I will. I'll take a minute to ramble about Ashton Jeanty. He is a generational talent. Everyone dubbed Caleb Williams a generational talent coming out of USC. I didn't really agree with a generational standpoint of that. I think CJ Stroud was on a similar level coming out of college. I think there's other guys that have been. Trevor Lawrence was on that level coming out of college, undoubtedly. Caleb Williams was not a generational talent. Ashton Jeanty is a generational talent. You see running backs every generation or so playing at that caliber. Melvin Gordon was that generation's generational talent. Ashton Jeanty is this generation's generational talent. I've seen comparisons to Derrick Henry. I don't love that comparison because Derrick Henry looked to run through the run. Ashton Jeanty looks to bounce off tackles and run away from tacklers. He doesn't want to run through people. He's more bouncing off of people and making stuff happen with his legs, hurdle, being explosive, but he will run through someone if he has to. Don't get that mistaken. My comparison for him is Todd Gurley, a guy that can find holes, that can bounce off tacklers, that can get away. He's just Houdini when it comes to being in that backfield, getting away from tacklers, evading all of these things. Todd Gurley with healthy knees would have been what I think Ashton Jeanty is preparing to be at the next level. He's playing obviously Mountain West opponents, but when you get him against anybody in college football, we'll see it in the playoff. I believe Boise State, if not even being in the top 12 at the end of the year, is going to secure that G5 bid. You'll see it. Ashton Jeanty, just no matter who you face at him, he can get around him, bounce off the tackle, go over him, do all these things at such an efficient rate. We've never seen a running back come out and break off 50-yard touchdown runs consistently. He does it. It's sort of at the point you look at him and you expect him, if he doesn't break off a 50-yard touchdown run, are you okay? Is there an underlying thing I need to look for? Which is absurd. Ashton Jeanty's just doing stuff that should not be done. He's doing it efficiently at such a high rate as well. He's a bettor's best friend. When bettors look at that over on the yards line, they're like, Ashton Jeanty, you've done it every year. Every game this year. You're going to do it again. And he does it again consistently. He's a sports bettor's best friend. He's just, a lot of guys love him, myself included. He's my favorite player in the nation. Ashton Jeanty, he's not your typical running back prototype. He is special. You can have a little bit of Derrick Henry sprinkled. You can have a little bit of Todd Gurley sprinkled. He is the next best running back. He is the next best thing. He is one of the best running backs coming out of college, maybe of all time. We're not going to get into the Bo Jackson, Barry Sanders. We're not going to disrespect legends. We're not going to do all this. But we're going to give Ashton Jeanty flowers at the same time. This is one of the best running backs in my lifetime. This is one of the best running backs coming out of college. I got to live through Derrick Henry coming out of college. I got to live through Todd Gurley coming out of college. Those guys were insane. I believe Ashton Jeanty is on that level. He did it last year as well. No one was really paying attention at that as big of a rate, as national of a scale. This season we're getting a bigger, broader look at him. He's my favorite guy coming out of college, and I believe that he is the best back in the nation by far, the best back in however big he wants to be. Ashton Jeanty is a generational prospect, and he will be going very high in this draft. He'll be very sought after. I could see him landing at a team like Dallas, who needs help in the run game, a team like Cleveland. Nick Chubb been injury prone. Jerome Ford's been knocked out a few times. Ashton Jeanty, for me, is a generational talent, and he is my 2024 Heisman winner, 2024-25 Heisman winner. Love Ashton Jeanty, and I believe he will get it done at an efficient and at a high level like he has been in college. And this is going to be a very fun Heisman race nonetheless. So thank you for giving me on a little bit of a tangent there, Michael. But I believe Ashton Jeanty is the best player in college football, and he should win this Heisman Trophy undoubtedly up to this point. The next hot take, the second to last hot take. I'm not holding you guys much longer, I promise. The second to last hot take, the Vikings will fall off. This also comes from Tyson, same one that submitted the Cade Klubnik Heisman take. And I agree with you. I don't think they'll fall off. I know where you're trying to come from with this. They'll slow down. They're not going to... Actually, I'm going to go off you said. I'm going to go off you said. You said fall off. So I'm going to believe you think that in the playoffs they're not going to make much noise. They're not going to be in the conference championship. They're not going to do all these things. I could see. I think they're going to slow down. I wouldn't use the word fall off. I think they're going to slow down. I think production's going to come back to earth a little bit. I think their heads are going to get a little too big at times. They're going to be brought back to reality by some of these teams they play. They're going to be slowed down in the way they're playing. Their confidence, everything is just going to sort of halter a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I think Sam Darnold, his production is not sustainable. I think what they're doing is not really sustainable. This defense, though, however, if this defense can just keep playing at the rate they're playing, I believe there might not be any signs of slowing down. A brake pedal might not be an option for this team. They might just keep rolling and rolling and rolling. Next thing you know, they're 12-0 by the week 13 mark, and it's like this team is just something special. But I don't believe we'll see that. I see Slam Darnold. He'll start to have some games where he's throwing 200 yards, a touchdown, an interception, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. They're going to lose some close games. They're going to lose some questionable games. You're going to be calling in Kevin O'Connell's play calling is going to be called into question, some stuff like this. I think they'll finish around a 12-5, 13-4 record, and I believe they're going to lose in the NFC Conference Championship. I believe it'll still be an amazing season for morale, an amazing season, nothing these fans expected going into it. Again, you can hope, you never expect going into it in reality. I think they'll slow down a little bit. They'll be brought back to earth in a couple of close games, and it'll be ending up like maybe a Cardinals when they start off super hot, or a Steelers when they start off 11-0 and then they drop one to the Commanders. I believe they'll be brought back to earth and they'll sort of slow down. By the time playoff comes, they'll be more aligned with certain teams, and we won't see them in New Orleans for the end of the season. We won't see them in the Super Bowl, but they will have nonetheless an amazing season, something to look so highly on toward heading into next season, and just overall something to be super proud of. So the Vikings, I think they'll slow down. I don't think they'll completely fall off, but I also don't believe they're going to win anything significant this season. But they will make a run to about the divisional round of the playoff for me, maybe the conference championship, and definitely an exciting season nonetheless with Sam Darnold at the helm, and just something you weren't expecting. And you set up a good blueprint for when J.J. McCarthy returns off injury, and it'll just be interesting next season for the Vikings. I think they'll slow down, and that's what I think the Vikings would do this offseason. Last hot take is coming from Elias. Elias, we've talked football going back to 4th grade. We are very familiar with these football talks. His hot take, this is interesting. He says this generation of quarterbacks, this generation now, coming up out of college, all these young guys now, are much worse than last generation. Now, I think this is interesting, and I'm going to agree to disagree here. Because for me, I don't think they're much worse. I think they're very different. They have different strengths, different weaknesses. Last generation, we see Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, all these crazy guys, Drew Brees. They specialized inside the pocket. They specialized getting the ball to. There's just so many insane names at receiver. I mean, there still is. But you see names like they were throwing to Randy Moss. They were throwing to whoever they, T.Y. Hilton. They were throwing to all these big names. Odell Beckham when he was young. They really didn't have to do much besides dish it to these guys, make insane throws. They were really known for standing in the pocket, taking hits, movement inside of the pocket, spreading the field, getting the ball down. Breaking defenders down with their eyes, all these certain unique abilities. This next generation sort of just taking a different approach to playing the same position. They're sort of using their legs to make more plays. We see guys like Josh Allen hurdling, running over, trucking, Lamar Jackson, spin moves, juke, left to right, whatever it is. They just play games much differently. I wouldn't say they're much worse. They're just much more diverse. That rhymed. But I just think this next generation is all about mobility, spreading, extending plays, breaking down defense in unique ways that haven't been seen before. And part of the reason is because that this generation, the older generation, was so successful inside the pocket, so successful the way they played the game. Defenses are adapting. They're honing down on that, causing for a new wave of quarterback play to make up for the newer defenses adjusting to the older quarterback play, if that makes sense. It's sort of, they've seen that old play, they're adapting, they're spreading, they're stylizing for that. So this has to come out and make an adjustment to stylize for the defense, and it just causes different waves of play style, different ways of play calling, different ways of spreading the field, different ways of doing certain things, which all have the same end goal, which is scoring touchdowns, moving the ball at will, spreading the field as efficient as possible. I believe this new generation is just as good, if not better, talent, skill-wise, just doing it in a different way, not seen before, and it's just uncharted, unfamiliar territory for fans, coaches, and even the players. So I believe this generation isn't necessarily much worse, they're just much different. That's my take on that. I think they're forced to adapt and play differently. I think they're forced to come out and look at it in a lens, a different scope. They have a lot more different things to scheme for, prepare for. So I don't think they're much worse. I think if anything, they're a little better, honestly, in terms of play style and ability. I just believe they're much different and they do things in a lot different style, a lot different fashion, if that makes sense. So that's not a bad take. I don't mind that take at all. I just have a different viewpoint when it comes to why they're different and why they play not the same brand of football. And I agree with you. It's not the same brand of football. It is much different because it has to be. They have to adapt. They have to make changes. And that's really just what I see from that point of view. And that's all for the mailbag. That was a lot. I know between the Chant talk, we had a lot to say about the Chanticleers. Their big matchup this week heading into play Louisiana Lafayette at home. We had a lot to cover throughout the NFL, a big week with debuts, performances, and everything, and now the mailbag, a lot of takes. If you want to hear your take on the show, make sure to go to my socials, at the Brogan Hillman on Instagram, shoot me a DM what you want to see, add me on Snapchat, at Brogan Hillman, TikTok, at Brogan Hillman. I love you all very, very much. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to tune in the same time next week, 4 o'clock on Wednesday, right here on the channel. Like, subscribe so you don't miss it. But most importantly, make sure to keep God number one. I love you all very, very much. It's been Brogan Hillman, and I am out.